Good morning, everyone, and welcome at CIMeC. As you can see, we did our best to organize this day. We ordered the snow just for you, so you can remember this day. By guarantee, by next time that you will come here, there will be a sunny day. Okay, I'm Carlo Miniussi, and I'm the director of CIMeC, Center for Mind-Brain Sciences. The center was opened in 2007, and the main idea is to establish what is the relation between, it doesn't work. Okay, what's the relation between the brain and the mind? And so the aims of the center are, the first aim is to study the brain architecture through the analysis of its functional and structural characteristics in both normal and pathological subjects. We actually start from the study in animal insects to end the story with application of this kind of research in patients. And the other aim of the center is to educate the next generation of researchers in the neuroscience area. The center is an interdisciplinary center, and it includes several people from other departments. So the faculty is composed by people from psychology and cognitive science department, physics, mathematics, and information engineering, computer science. And so there are many expertise here at CIMeC from different areas of research. And a third of the researchers are actually coming from different countries, from other countries around the world. Sorry, it's working, but with a delay. As you can see here, there are a list of several of the countries. And here you can see the number of people working at CIMeC divided by staff, principal investigator, PhD student, and postdoc. The docs. So it's a melting pot of different expertise and cultures. And there you can see what is the structure of CIMeC. So there are substantially 5 laboratories that are listed here. This is the research area. Then there is those labs are located in different area of Rovereto. Then there is the educational part that is actually taking body mainly in this building here. And then also we collaborate with other institutions. One is the Italian Institute of Neuroscience, and then also we got several laboratories in collaboration with other structures. Education. The education is, as I said, mainly performed here at Palazzo Istruzione. And substantially we run 3 main courses. One is the master course in cognitive science, then there is a PhD program in cognitive and brain sciences, and the Harvard Summer Schools. The colleagues will introduce specifically these 3 paths. But I want to show you just this slide. Here in these plots you can see the number of applications during the year for the master course, of the number of applications during the years in the PhD programs, and here the number of students divided by the area of provenance. So here the lower part are students coming from Italy, the upper part is students coming from abroad. The research activity, as I said, is performed in several labs that are located in different parts of Rovereto, and we got 28 research groups, and the main idea is to study the brain. It's a very complex system from different prospects. And the idea is to discover what are the characteristics of this structure and how the brain actually creates our mind. You can check to this website link to see all the 28 research groups. Sorry, I'm not used to this delay with the pointer, okay. These are the main area of research at CIMeC: action, aging, animal cognition, computational modeling, language learning, neuroimaging, rehabilitation, neurocognitive rehabilitation, neurostimulation, perception, attention, reasoning, decision making, and many others areas of research. And this research is carried on mainly in these 5 labs. As I said, these 5 labs are located in different areas of Rovereto. The first lab, the LNIF lab, is the Functional Neuroimaging Laboratories, is located at Mattarello. It's about 20 minutes by car or by bus. It's roughly 15 kilometers from here. So we are here at the moment, and here we can see the Mattarello Center. At Mattarello, we have 3 main structures, 3 main labs. One is the magnetic resonance imaging laboratory, where we just got a new MRI machine. Then we got the magnetoencephalography laboratory, the brain stimulation laboratory. Also, we have other tools like EEG or eye tracking system that can actually be combined with all these methods. So the core business of this area of research is the neuroimaging of the brain, and we can combine all these methods to gain more information through integration of data. The other lab is located at Palazzo Fedrigotti, just in front of this building next door, and it's experimental psychology lab, EPL lab. And here we got several labs where we can study eye movements, EEG, kinematic, multisensory activity, psychophysics, and also we do have a baby lab here. Another lab also located at Palazzo Fedrigotti is CLIC, language interaction and computation. Here, the colleagues at CLIC studied language and the interaction of language with other aspects of cognition with a theoretical and computational approach. But the colleague will present this part better later on. Another lab is the Animal Cognition Lab that's located at Manifattura, and we are here now. Here you got the train station, and here is where the Animal Cognition Lab is located in this building here. It's called Manifattura. At the Animal Cognition, we study the cognitive process through an evolutionary perspective. So we compare the activity, behavioral activity or neurophysiological activity at brain level in some species, and then we compare this activity to the activity in humans. Another lab is the neuropsychology lab that actually is called Center for Neurocognitive Rehabilitation. It's located here in this area of Rovereto. So here we got the train station, here's the Charing, it's called Charing, and it's about 5-10 minutes walk from here. We are here now. At Charing, we got 3 main aims. One is to provide a clinical service to the population. The other one is to do research activity in the clinical area. And the third element is to train people in this kind of approach, so in a clinical approach. We see mainly neurological patients with brain damages. And as you can see, these are the numbers of the patients that are tested during the different years. And some of those patients also enter some experimental rehabilitation approaches. So in some way, we can move from experimentation in animals and toward the application of this knowledge in humans. We can use this knowledge then later on in patients. As I said, we also collaborate with different institutions. One main collaboration is with the Italian Institute of Technology, but we also have some laboratories in collaboration with other centers. So here, the Center for Neuroscience and Cognitive System that's located in Palazzo Fedigotti. The colleague will present you better the IIT, Italian Institute of Technology, later on. Then, if I can move to the next slide. Yes, then there is the Ecology, Ecology and Evolution Lab in collaboration with the Civic Museum here in Rovereto. The main aim of this lab is an educational one. Then we got the Neurophysics Lab, where small insects, for example, are studied through light substantially. And then we got a collaboration with FBK, where thank you to this collaboration, there is this machine learning for neuroscience approach with the Neuroinformatics Lab or NIL Lab at FBK. In terms of evaluation of research, CIMeC has been considered as being ranked first amongst centers working on psychological science among universities. That was true for the last evaluation, but also for the previous one. Another element that's relevant at CIMeC is the conference, workshop, summer schools that we carry on during the year. Every year we have several workshops. Here you can see these CAUS, concept, actions and objects. We got a lot of different seminars where we invite international speakers, and every 2 years we run other workshops. This year we will have on top of CAUS, Rovereto Attention Workshop, and also COGIVO, Workshop of Cognition and Evolution. Also, we run several summer schools. The Harvard Summer School will be introduced later on, because this program has been going on for almost 10 years. But then, for example, this year we run 2 summer schools. One is Adriatica Summer School, and the other one is Brandy Summer School. Clearly, you will be able to take part to all these summer schools that we are running here at CIMeC. On the top of this, we also run several seminars open to the public. So we try to communicate science also to the general public, not just to specialized subjects. The future of CIMeC, this is a relevant part, because I mean, there are several aspects that we should consider for our future. First element, the previous century was the genomic century. Now the actual century, 21st century, is the century of neuroscience, the biology of mind. So for the future, CIMeC wants to build up on the experience of his members, the members of CIMeC, to consolidate the capacity of this center, to consolidate the research activities carried on in this center, building in some way a neuroscience research center of excellence. The other key element is related to the approach of research. So we aim to run good research, considering these keywords, reliability, rigor, and replicability. We also aim to perform a fair research. So the idea is to optimize the use of data, and also the ability to those researchers that work here at CIMeC to assess facilities. And all this respecting what are the rights of people and animals. We do have a project related to open science. It's called Think Open project, and the idea is to become an open science center where we can use facilities but also data, sharing this facility and data with other researchers. One important element is related to the infrastructure. So as I showed you, CIMeC at the moment is divided in different areas of Rovereto. Actually, this area is more close to Trento than Rovereto, but here, so we are here at the moment. So one area is this one, the other one is Palazzo Fedrigotti, the third one is very close to the train station. Here you got Mattarello and Manifattura. So for the future, the goal is to have just one single center, and that center will be located at Manifattura. Here you got the train station, and Manifattura is located in this part of the town. And there's a project, and this project has started a couple of years ago. It's an ongoing project, and the aim is to get there as soon as possible in the future. It will take, obviously, several years to build all this, but this is where we should go for the near future. But also, a key element to our future is related to those of you that will decide to study at CIMeC, and those of you that will come here will also be part of this future. And so thank you for your attention. I introduce now the coordinator of the master course, Professor Zampino.
Can you hear me? Is working? Fine. So, welcome in Rovereto to you that are here in the room, and to all the people that are following us by streaming. So we have a group of people following by the net. I'm the coordinator of the master course in cognitive science, and I guess most of you are here for hearing some information about our master. I think the main reason is that because you want to try to address this question: why should I apply here? Why should I come here in Rovereto? I have several reasons for suggesting you to apply here, to apply to our master. The first one is because you are at the University of Trento. University of Trento has recently been awarded by the maximum grade evaluation by the Italian ministry. It's the first one in Italy. So other universities should be evaluated in the future, but at least we are the first one. So good university. The second point is CIMeC. CIMeC is in the first place, as Carlo has shown you, in the evaluation among the center working on mind and brain, among the department working in this field. Other reasons are related to our organization and structure. So if you are interested in working in research, I think that our master is the right place. It's the right place because here you could have both theoretical knowledge that we provide you in the first year, and then practical experience. So you're going to have a lot of hands-on experiences during your internship and thesis. And it's not for sure in all the places, in all the master. We decided to have this kind of organization because we think that our student then should apply successfully to a PhD or to a position in a company. But for applying for a PhD or in a company, you should have both theoretical and practical knowledge. Okay? So, and something is something that you can document it in your CV. when you go to apply. It seems that we are doing well. In 2015, we did a survey among our past students, and most of them, 80% of them, got a PhD, applying a PhD and got a fellowship, studentship position in a PhD school. So after few months, after very few months after the end of the master. And we have also some students that got position in companies. So this is the first reason. By the way, when I mean the courses, I'm referring to several courses that we offer not in the traditional way, like frontal lecture. Some of them are frontal lecture, but we also try to have a sort of different approach, more interactive approach. So not just studying on textbooks, but also on paper. So some of the courses are organized like journal club, in which you discuss papers. So you learn how to read the paper, how to analyze scientific publications, which is quite important. Other reasons are because we have here at CIMeC a lot of different research groups. This is quite important when you think about possible internship and thesis. Why? Because you can find a lot of exciting ongoing projects here. Not just few projects, but starting from biomolecular neuroscience through animal cognition to human cognition, adopting different methods, from MRI to MEG, from EEG to TMS to NIRS, and then several others. We have all the possible tools that now you can use in neuroscience, which is quite important. It's difficult to find in the same place all those facilities that we have and all those projects that we have. Here, in this list, there are the actual composition of CIMeC, but in this year, new people are going to join us. So even more projects are going to wait for you in your second year. Then another important thing is the number of principal investigators. If you think that we can accept 50 students every year, it means that the ratio between principal investigator and students is quite good for you, I guess. Less than 1 to 2. So you could have, if you want, your own principal investigators, more or less. Then there is also a sort of good environment in terms of, let's say, many young researchers around, postdoc and PhD. And also, this means that you can have also a good interaction with young researchers, people that have just finished a master, so slightly older than you, and the environment is really international. So half of the students, half of the researchers are coming from abroad, and the official language at CIMeC is English. So this is another important issue, because then for your future, you can consider to move and to be open to not just to national for the Italian student solution, but also to be open to other possible international universities. Other reasons for applying to our master, well, there are studentships available for you, so they can cover your costs. This is an important thing, in the sense that not in all the places you can have studentships available. Students' accommodations, another good, let's say, option. Then, here, I think we have an excellent administrative support. I don't know if you have already tried to contact them, but I think they are quite good in replying. They are quite good, they are quite available. Obviously, it's easy when you have a small number, a small community of students, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you are efficient for sure, but our administrative support is really efficient. So this is another reason for coming here. So the theoretical and research-related aspect, educational aspect are important, but also those aspects, I think, are quite important. If you have an administrative issue, a bureaucratic issue, a formal issue, and no one is going to help you or able to find a solution, it might be a pain for you. Here we have tried always to solve all these problems as well. Then, okay, if you are then convinced to apply, if you are really think to apply, I think I have some tips for you. So the first one, try to highlight the important information in your CV. In the past, we have received CV with a lot of information. Some information are really not so relevant. The fact that you play guitar, okay, fine with you and fine with us, we like it, but it's not an important information for us. The fact that, okay, you have attended a summer school in computational linguistics or in cognitive neuroscience, this is perfect. But it should go before the fact that you have played or you are playing guitar, right? So try to highlight the important relevant information for the application. It's easier then for the committee to evaluate your skills. And then, so report any possible research-related experience that you have done. If you have been in a research lab for a while, report it, it's important. Report any attendance to conferences as well. If you have the chance to attend to any conference, even better. If you have presented your bachelor degree work in a conference, even better. It's less likely for a bachelor degree student to have presented something to a conference, but it's important. Then try to be consistent in your research statement, in the statement of purposes. Write it carefully. So you need to be really focused on the master. So first of all, be aware of what we are offering here. What are the ongoing project, the topics? If you write in your statement of purposes that you are really interested in studying sleep or sleep disease or the cognitive aspect of sleep, and you are coming here for that, maybe you are in the wrong place, and it's not good for your statement of purposes. I'm not saying that that topic is interesting, but you can think to work on that topic later on for your PhD. Okay. So when you apply here, try to really show that you know what you are going to apply for. So you know the place, you know what we are doing here, you know that Trento is in north of Italy, and you are not coming just for join or to stay in Italy for holidays. So in the past we have had people that on the statement of purposes wrote that well, they found that Italy might be an interesting place, so I would like to join. My brother is already there. I would like to join my brother, and okay, this might be personal reasons. We are not interested in your, to be honest, in your personal, are important, but are not important for the application, okay? So try to not report really your personal history. Interesting, but not for the application. Try to be really focused on why you are interested in coming here from the educational point of view. Then some information about our master. So we have 2 tracks. So it's a master course in cognitive science, but you can choose among 2 tracks. They are almost independent. And those 2 tracks are cognitive neuroscience on one side and language and multimodal interaction on the other side. Raffaella Bernardi is going to present you the language and multimodal interaction track later on. For the moment, I can tell you that there are some aspects that are shared among the 2 tracks. So both have 7 mandatory courses, 2 constrained choice courses that you have to choose among a number of them, and then 2 free choice courses, an internship, 375 hours, and thesis, 750 hours. So internship and thesis are mostly your second year. Okay. Regulation are the same, administrative support is the same, and some courses are shared. About the cognitive neuroscience track, so now I'm focusing on the cognitive neuroscience track, I can tell you some information. So about the mandatory courses, now this is what we are planning to offer next year, but still we are discussing about our teachings. In fact, we are going to have a meeting with our students in February. So they are keen to propose or to give, we are waiting from them to get some feedback. So they want to propose us some possible changes, improvement in the courses. So in February, we are going to meet our students. We are quite open in hearing students' opinion. And as you can see, in the cognitive neuroscience track, most are sort of from basic cognitive neuroscience to more advanced topics. So with basics, I mean a general knowledge. With more advanced, I mean the current debates in cognitive neuroscience. Okay. Then we provide you with all the, well, basic knowledge in all the possible tools and methods that you can use in neuroscience, in particular brain imaging techniques. Then we have also methodological courses that are important for running experiment, and those methodological, in particular research design, we want to provide you both the methodological skills and the statistical skills that you need for running experiment, plus introduction to computer programming that is necessary for programming any experiment or analyzing data. Then we have constraint choice courses. These constraint choice courses, you need to choose them among, at the moment, a number of courses. So among them, you need to choose at least, you need to choose 2 courses, and it's mandatory. So you have, among those courses, you need to choose 2 courses. And finally, you have 2 free choice courses. And those free choice courses are courses that you can really choose among all the University of Trento courses. They should be related with your master, with your path, with if you are in a cognitive neuroscience track, they should be related with that track. These are the courses that we offer as a CIMeC in our master. But you can also choose a course from the physics department, from the biological department, from any other department. It should be related. So I think that's all on my side. I hope I have convinced you to apply to our master. So bear in mind that the deadline is February the 20th. So you still have time, but you shouldn't wait until the very end, because you know it works with this online application, or it's better to try to be well in advance. And again, thanks for your attention.
E quale è questo qui va avanti? Questo?
No, proviamo a mettere...
Sì, andate. No. Ok, provo. Okay. So hi everybody, I'm Raffaella Bernardi. As been said already, so I will be introducing you to 3 things actually. So LMI, which is the track Massimiliano has just mentioned before, and questo preferisco. Questo? No, preferisco questo. Okay? Better? Can you? Yeah, so, and the LCT European Master. So, for the LMI is the local program is part of the local program we are running here in Trento. The LCT is that we are part of a larger European consortium. And as a third thing, I will speak briefly about our research group, CLIC, as Carlo Mignusi has mentioned before. So my main purpose, I think, is like to give you the idea of what this topic is about. How can we put together language, technologies, communication, multimodal even. When I was doing these talks in the early days when the program was started, which was like in the early 2000s, for both of them, I had hard time. I mean, I had to think because it was not something that people could easily grasp. It was rather an original program to offer. And so what I was using was this image, this illustration from a European project, Vermobile, which was a rather rich and huge project run till 2000. Where the idea of the people working of of the research community there was to develop the software able to translate speech between people at a phone, translating them, transcribe the speech into text, and even making a summary of the conversation. This was kind of science fiction back then. It was really not the reality. It was a vision. It was something we were kind of working towards. Nowadays, I think my life has become easier, because if I tell you about what is language technologies, actually I think you have your own experience with that now, because I'm sure that at least once you have tried to use Google Translator. Is that so? Do you know Google Translator? Well, that's part of language technologies, right? You go there and it's doing a good job. I'm using it, I'm trying to learn German, and it's helping me a lot. But even more, like now, I mean, I'm experiencing it with my Gmail account, maybe you do the same. Now we have these suggestions for answers. When you have, you get an email, Gmail is learning to provide you, to suggest you answers to the mail. And it's doing a good job. And actually, by clicking on the answer it suggests you, you are actually training your system to provide good answers, to choose the ones which are plausible. Because all this work, it's also based on machines, on systems which learn by doing, which are trained on data. So this is language technologies nowadays we are experiencing in everyday life. So my life has become easier when people ask me what I'm doing. I say, yeah, what Google does. And that's not, I'm not faking it, it's true. Then it's even more recently than, I mean, I'm working on dialogue actually. And my life has become easier thanks to Amazon, again, Facebook, and all these big companies which are actually now bringing in our house, in our apartment, this application. Alexa with Amazon, Siri, and I don't know whether you have tried because they're kind of expensive, but even like my daughter, she's trying, okay, Google. And I hear them say, okay, Google, with a Google Assistant, with a phone that it's almost in all smartphones, and she's asking the Google Assistant to make the telephone to play the song of Frozen. And that's what's happening with my phone. And that's language technologies that we are all using nowadays. Even more, there is multimedia. I mean, people are now, Microsoft has developed this app which helps people to see, because it's for visually impaired people, blind people that cannot see, and there is this application which connects speech. It's wow, right? It's wow, yeah. That connects speech, that connects text and images, and it's becoming something that is reality. It's not a dream of like a group of people that are working on this for research purpose. So this is all what is happening we are experiencing ourselves, and this is kind of the technologies that we work on and we teach to our students in the LCT LMI track. Now this is not all done. I mean, it's really good, but I'm sure that you have also experienced some kind of some experience with Google Translator. It's not really it's doing well, but it's not perfect. So, and just to kind of actually point to a kind of a limitation which is not on the syntax level, but not on the kind of wrong translation, but on the style. If you think, like, if you try the translation for "I thank you for considering my job," application, it does a good job, but it doesn't understand how to, the level of politeness it has to use. It says, ti ringrazio per aver considerato, and that's not a good way of sending your application, because you're not at the right register of politeness, and Google Translator does not know this. Then Siri. Well, if you say, call me an ambulance, it will say, from now on, I will call you an ambulance, which is not, again, the right thing. That's actually not helping much. And this is because it does not understand that thing in that context. So it's not disambiguating. Google image search. If you search, now it's even, you can search, it's multimedia. You can have a text and a query, and you can search for the images. But if you say fish, I want to have images of fish but not blue, it will not understand the negation. And these are levels of, that require more modeling, more understanding of human behavior, of cognitive systems, and these technologies that now are in everyday life are not there yet, and that's where the research is going through. So that's why we're trying to put together cognitive sciences, neuroscientists, computer scientists, and linguists, because we need to understand how human process information, how we learn things in order to then implement this model so that they are not just able to correlate information, they are able to develop an intelligence which is much more like humans have, like human mind. So if I want to give you an idea of the current research topics in our research, there is not really kind of this brand new emerging topic of decoding the brain. So taking the information from the brain and translating it to the kind of representation that people, the computational linguists use. Then there is this idea that we need to develop artificial intelligence agents that are able to understand the other, because that's a crucial component of human intelligence, that we understand what the other wants, what the other intention is, and that's really an important aspect of humans being that current artificial intelligence agents do not have. So modeling the theory of mind. And also interestingly, as I said, like these systems are built on, we are using a lot machine learning, so we train a system to learn a task. And we start with really complex tasks, and we say, okay, now learn this task, thanks to lots of data, we're managing to do so. But if we want to do things properly and like developing an artificial intelligence system that learns as we do, we should do this incrementally. So we are not just going to start doing math in school. We have our history. We have like learn things gradually. We are learning incrementally. And this is an important aspect that, on which there is investment nowadays in our field. Also, even more dramatically, our models currently are able to learn, but then forget. So if you are going to learn a task and then you're learning a new task, they will not know what they've learned previously. So this idea of continual learning, it's something crucial because we learn incrementally and we build on our experience to learn the more complex tasks. And that's where research is now investing effort and mind. So this is what we would like our students to teach. That's why we put together these different expertise. And our goals are to understand these human skills, how they relate to language and perception, to develop hypotheses that then can be implemented into these computational models. So because of these goals, the way of reaching this is to offer you, the students, this package of courses in cognitive neuroscience, in language, and in computer science. And the methods we are using are of different, a variety of methods. So we go from the formal languages, logics, to machine learning, to neuroimaging, and also what we use a lot is crowdsourcing, so collecting human, because we need to collect annotation or inputs from human to understand, to then have this annotation to model these behaviors and the human abilities. So the CLIC, within the CIMeC, there is this group, this lab click, and these are the topics we work on. So natural language syntax, brain decoding, language and visions, which are all connected to what I was mentioning before. And this is our group of people. As LMI students, they have the possibility to go studying abroad with Erasmus. Our destinations are Edinburgh, Groningen, Saarbrücken, and Prague. If you have any feeling, any view of this field internationally, these are really top university where I wanted to go when I was starting this whole process. So the LCT. The LCT is an European program. It's a 2-year program recognized by the EU. So it was kind of recognized as a program of excellence. I say it was because we are expiring the recognition and we are in the resubmission phase. So it has been alive for more than 10 years now. The program is, the study plan is designed jointly by the 2 universities because the students study 1 year in one university, the second year in the second university, and with a common joint study plan. And at the end, it receives 2 degrees, one for each of the university where the student has studied. These are the universities involved across Europe. For the LCT, I can give you numbers about who are our students. So the application is, we have quite a number, 300 applications yearly. Out of this, it's rather competitive. There is a strong selection. Most of the students we select for the LCT program are have a bachelor in computer science, or at least they can show that they have some programming skills. But we do also take students from humanities, linguistics, if they can show they have attitude towards programming. And interestingly, lately, when we run this survey with the alumni regularly, and the balance between what they do after the program, it's kind of, now it's like more students actually go to the industry than what it was before. I believe for the LMI track, it's kind of the opposite situation. Most of our students are from humanities, and I think then later on they mostly stay within academia. So this is links and deadlines that you have to keep in mind if you are interested in this topic. And this is the lectures you will have if you come studying here in Trento as LMI or students of the LCT program that then come here. So if you have questions, I will be around afterwards.
So, good morning, everybody. I'm Luca, and I'm a researcher. And I'm a researcher here at CIMeC. And today I will speak about a specific type of program that we have here, which is the UniTrento CISA program. So I'm the delegate for it, and so I will present you this specific program that you can enroll while you, if you decide to basically enroll to our graduate program. Okay, it doesn't really work. So this is a UniTrento program, is part of my master course, and is basically organized by ourselves, University of Trento, and by the CISA. So it's a program that will basically allow you to study in the 2 best cognitive neuroscience research institute of Italy. So when you enroll in our cognitive master, you have the possibility of enrolling also in this program. Among all the candidates, we will select 4 students that will be part of the program. So the selected students will have economic benefit in terms of free accommodation here in Trento, at the University of Trento, and in Trieste at CISA. And also they will have a yearly award for both years. So as I already anticipated to you, the first year you will be here at the University of Trento, and the second year you will be at CISA, which is in Trieste. So for people that are not from Italy, Trento and Trieste are two different cities, and they are 300 kilometers far away. This is not completely clear to all the foreigner applicants. So as I said, the first year you will be at CIMeC, and you will basically follow the courses as other students, but you will have two specific meetings. So one immediately after the first month, and here we will present you, so I will present you the course that, and the program, and basically what are the possibilities of this specific program. And the second one will be almost at the end of the first year, so you will spend a couple of days at CISA, and you will have a specific presentation of all the labs, and also you could have a specific interview with the PI you might be interested to meet, and also with PhD students and postdocs. So to have, let's say, an overall view of how the life at CISA is and which are the potential experience that you could have there. So as I said before, the second year you will be at CISA, and CISA is different from CIMeC, as CISA is just a research center, it's not a university. So there won't be master students, there will be only PhD students, postdocs, and PIs. We have this joint program because CISA offers particularly complementary facilities that we don't have or that we cannot offer. So for you, it's the possibility to basically develop your own research experience also in fields that are not possible to be investigated here at CIMeC. And obviously, the program that we is established with the cognitive department of CISA and not with other departments. So the second year, you will be at CISA in Trieste, and you will have to follow courses there. The courses at CISA are only from the PhD school because there is no master course there. So we'll basically follow normally specific courses that have basically a higher level, let's say, in the sense that they are taught to persons that already have a master degree. In addition, you will have to do internship at the thesis at CISA, obviously in collaboration with a PI from University of Trento. So these are the example of the courses that you can follow at CISA. So normally there are a course that is linked to each specific lab, and you will see these labs in a second. So where each PI will present his line of research, and in addition, you have specific type of courses that are linked to scientific skills that you need, for example, to apply for a PhD, like scientific writings or hands-on methods for analyzing fMRI data, EEG data, or eye tracking data. So these are the labs that you will find at CISA, and we will go through them in a second. So I will just give you a brief overview of each of them. So the first one is the Tactile Perception and Learning Lab. As you can understand from the name, the PI is Matthew Diamond, and their area of research is somatosensory perceptions. And mainly, this lab is conducting studies in rodents, so electrophysiological recordings in rodents, which at the moment is not possible, for example, at CIMeC. So if you might be interested in having this kind of experience, you might pass your first year here at CIMeC, and then your second year you might do this kind of experience at CISA. The second lab is the Visual Neuroscience Lab, led by Davide Zoccolan. Davide is interested in visual object recognition. He is also doing rodents electrophysiology, but in addition, he's also doing psychophysics in humans and neuroimaging studies in humans. Then there is the Limbo Lab, led by Alessandro Treves, and in this case, Alessandro is interested in investigating memory and brain organization. He's mainly doing like neuroimaging in humans and computational modeling of this data. Then we have Davide from the Reading, Language and Abstract Cognition Lab. And Davide is, as you can understand from the name of the lab, interested in reading, language and abstract cognition. And in particular, Davide has a strong link with CIMeC because we have an ongoing project with Roberto Bottini and Olive Collignon here. So we are basically doing a parallel project. So you might, for example, spend your first year here at CIMeC working for Roberto or Olivier, and then you might spend your second year there. And maybe you could have a project that is basically linking these two labs. Then there is the lab by Domenica Bueti, and Domenica is basically interested in understanding how space, time, and numbers are represented in the brain. And she's also doing mainly human research, adopting fMRI, EEG, and also neurostimulation techniques. Then for people that are more interested in computational approach and in understanding basically how it is possible to model brain activity, there is the lab by Chris Matis, and he is mainly developing models to understand how the people are making inferences and how they are deciding between different action or learning by stimulation in the environment. And finally, there is the lab by Raffaella Rumiati. She's mainly interested in cognitive and social neuroscience. So if you're interested in this aspect, you might contact her. So if you need any kind of information, you can contact me, as I'm the delegate for this program, and also you can contact Massimiliano, who has just presented the general overview of the course, and also you can contact the person at CISA, so Davide and Alessandro, which are the two persons that are in charge of the project there. So if you have any kind of questions or you would like to know something more about it, you just can contact me.
So good morning. My name is Sabrina Damoli, and I'm head of administration at the CIMeC. And I'm here today to give you a brief presentation of an initiative which sort of complements the academic offer of the CIMeC, which you've just heard about, and you will hear more about later on this morning. And this is the Harvard Summer Program in Mind-Brain Sciences, which is an initiative which is jointly organized by the University of Harvard and the CIMeC, and which is run during every summer in Mattarello. So as I said, the University of Harvard has a wide number of summer initiatives. There are summer programs with destinations all over the world on a variety of different topics. The only one in cognitive science is the one that is run here at the CIMeC. It is mainly aimed at Harvard students who attend these courses during their summer break, but it is also open to students enrolled in Italian universities, and in particular to those who are either on a enrolled in a three-year degree, so are attending the second or the third year of an undergraduate degree, or who are attending the first year of a master degree. This in order to be consistent with the level of knowledge that students in Harvard have when they come here. What you need to apply to this summer school, which has already arrived at its 10th edition, so it's been running for quite a lot of time. We have about between 30 and 45 students every year, so you have an idea of how many students have been here during the years, and some of them have applied to this summer school, have attended it, and then have decided to stay over either for a master, and therefore enrolled in our master school in cognitive master program in cognitive science, or applied to a PhD, to our PhD in cognitive science. So what you need to apply, first of all, a strong interest in studying the mind and the brain, of course, which you then have to show in a statement of interest, and good English proficiency, because the whole course is taught, as everything else here at the CIMeC, in English, and faculty and teaching assistants are English native speakers. Some general information on how the program is structured. All summer programs from Harvard last 8 weeks. And this year, the 10th edition is going to be from June 1 to July 27, so for 8 weeks, which are mandatory for Harvard students. But we know that summer is a particular time for Italian students, because there is the exam session. And therefore, Harvard gives the possibility to students enrolled in Italian universities to either attend the whole course, so the whole 8 weeks, or only 4 weeks if you want. This is because, I'll tell you a bit more about it later, because the summer program is structured into 2 different courses, one introductory course and a second course on topics that change every year. So you will have the possibility to attend the whole program or only one of the 2 courses that are taught. It takes place at the CIMeC, but not here in Rovereto, but in the neuroimaging labs in Mattarello. And this is good because lectures normally start from Mondays to Thursdays, and there's lectures and discussion sections during the morning, and then there's some other work to do during the afternoon. But students who attend this program can also participate in experiments and also attend seminars and other activities which go on at the research center. And from Friday to Sunday, normally 2/3 of the weekends are devoted to more social activities. All students are hosted have accommodation in UniTrento facilities, namely in the dorms, the UniTrento dorms in San Bapolis in Trento, and have a meal plan, and they spend all the time together with Harvard students, so they are all together all the time. And 2/3 of the weekends are devoted to social outings and different social activities. So students went to hikes in the Italian Alps, in the Dolomites. They went to Verona, Florence. Last year they went to Trieste and Turin. They have a lot of different activities which keep them in contact all the time with students from Harvard. There are also a couple of free weekends. And the experience we have is that students organize themselves in groups and do different things, from going to Lake Cardonazzo or Lake Garda, or going to Rome together. So it's not only a very interesting academic opportunity, but is also very important in order to be involved into a different atmosphere and culture in a way. As I said, there are 2 courses every year. One of them is an introductory course, which is mandatory for all program participants. which is Windows into the Structure of the Mind and Brain, which is taught by two professors from Harvard, John Assad from the Harvard Medical School and Professor Alfonso Caramazza, who is both university professor in Harvard and here research professor at the University of Trento, and who is the head of the program. This is an introductory course designed to give you the necessary background in cognitive science, which is necessary to then attend the second course, whose topic changes every year. This year, Harvard decided to offer a course on the cognitive neuroscience of film, which I'm not going to go into detail very much, but you will find a lot of information on our website and the website of the University of Harvard. Students enrolled in Italian universities can choose whether to attend the whole course or only one of these two courses. If you want to attend the introductory course, that's fine. If you want to only attend the second course, you will have to sort of show in your application that you already have the necessary background in cognitive science. Some specific information on this year's edition and how to apply to our summer school. The deadline for application has been set on March the 18th. It's already open. You find all papers for application on our website in the dedicated page. The cost of the school is the one you can see, 2,000 euros for the 8 weeks or 1,000 euros for the 4 weeks, and it covers accommodation, meals, all extracurricular activities. And one important thing to say is there is financial aid available. The University of Trento provides scholarships for students, for Italian students to attend the summer school, and I'll tell you a bit more in a second. So do have a look at the papers, because beside the actual papers for application to the summer school, there are also the application forms to our financial aid and fellowships. In order to apply, you will have to send your application together with the documents that I listed here, the list of exam with grades, so transcripts, in order to show what background knowledge you already have in cognitive science, as well as a personal statement of interest in the program, which will show that you have a strong interest and that will help Professor Caramazza and the people in Harvard understanding why you want to attend the course. 2 letters of recommendations written in English from faculty or any academics you may know already during your university studies. And if you think you are eligible, and you can see if you are eligible, because if you have an easy declaration, you will know immediately if you are eligible or not. There are fellowships that you can apply to with a specific call. The ESA declaration is the one that you already use for different things in university. So many of you may already have one. Have you already that number that tells you, which is related to income. And the call for the fellowship already tells you how much money you might have, how much the fellowship could be. So that is important to know, because you might end up spending very little for something which is very peculiar to the for an Italian university. Harvard is very interested in having feedback from its students on summer programs in order to understand whether to keep offering them the years after. And I took some of the comments that we read from the feedback questionnaires that were distributed and gathered last year, which sort of give you the feeling of what the students, the American students, bring back home after the program here. many of them say just apply. Don't think too much about it. It's a very particular experience. There's nothing like this in Italy. If you consider many summer schools and winter schools in Italy and in Europe are very short experiences, very intense, 1 week, 2 weeks. This is a different thing. This is Harvard coming to Rovereto with their way of teaching and doing research. So, I mean, to be honest, it's different from many of other experiences you might have had or might have in the future. And as you see, the classes might be a bit harder than you might expect because they are in English, because there are discussion sections, because they are intense from the academic point of view. But it's worth the effort also because there will be an exam at the end of the course which will give you the opportunity to have credits for your studies here. There are a number of credits that you can freely choose and that are necessary for graduation, and Harvard Summer School might give you some credits that are useful for graduating. I went very quickly on the various elements, but everything can be found on our website and on the specific page devoted to the Harvard Summer School, as well as the papers which are needed both for the application to the school and to financial assistance if appropriate. Should you have any questions or anything that was not clear today you may want to ask, just feel free to send us an email at the dedicated email address for Harvard, as well as to give us a call. And I will anyway be available later on during the buffet for any doubts that you may have. Thank you very much.
Speaker is Alessandro Gozzi from Italia Institute of Technology. Switch on the phone. Okay, fine.
Yeah, probably this one. Thank you. Can you hear me? It's on, right? Okay. Se funziona, ok, well, they can point it all. Okay, so thank you. Let me try to get this to work. All right, so thank you and good morning. Yes, my name is Alessandro Gozzi, and I'm a researcher at the Italian Institute of Technology. So in the next 10 minutes or so, I'll try to introduce a little bit who we are, what we do, and what our research themes are. So this presentation is going to be a little bit more sciencey than what you've been seeing so far. I hope this is just a positive change, but I'll try to keep it short anyway. So whether you like it or not, it's going to be short and sweet. So let me just start with a bit of an introduction to our network of centers. The Italian Institute of Technology is indeed a network of research centers across Italy. I think there are a couple missing here because 2 more have been now formed. But anyway, this gives you an idea of our location. That we also have 2 centers on the east coast of the US at Harvard and MIT. So these research centers, as you can see here, they have a strong partnership with a hosting university. And this is the case for the center I'm going to talk about, which is called Center for Neuroscience and Cognitive Systems, shortened CNCS, which is the center here in Rovereto. And of course, we have a partnership here, a tight partnership with CIMeC. The IIT research spans, now here there is a list of topics, but now it's been like shot down to 4 macro areas, which is robotics, nanotech, neurocomputation and neuroscience, and needless to say, in the center here in Rovereto, we deal with neuroscience. So our focus mostly is system neuroscience and neurocomputation, when I'm going to give you some examples now so you can get a feel for what we do more in detail. So what else can I tell you here? Some general information. So we, of course, are independent from CIMeC, so we have like a different management, but we are, as mentioned, we have a lot of ties and a tight relationship. We exchange students, for example, PhD students can also work with us, and so on. It's the center here in Rovereto was established in 2009, and it hosts pretty much around I would say 50 to 60 scientists. Our headquarters, like office space, is here in the same like street outside, so basically very close, Palazzo Fedrigotti. But we have like our experimental space now that has been established at Manifattura, I'm sure you heard, which is 2 kilometers off, and eventually we'll be all moving there. So wet labs are there. The coordinator is Stefano. I'm going to tell now in a while what Stefano is going to be doing. He's a neurocomputationalist. And we have these, as mentioned, it is not a big center, right? But we have like 4, we can define, core research lines, which I'm going to briefly illustrate one by one. Plus, I must mention also that we have a couple of adjunct researchers. So people who have been with us many years, Lorella Battelli, in her transcranial magnetic stimulation lab, plus Angelo Bifone. They've been with us for many years. Now they kind of moved their operation outside, so they retain some work here, but Lorella is now at Harvard, and Angelo is on the move. Now he's going to establish his lab in University of Torino. So for the interest of time, I'm just going to go through very briefly to these 4 research lines so you can see where we come and in which way we are somewhat synergic and complementary in terms of research themes to those of CIMeC. So first and foremost, of course, I have to start with the director, Stefano. Stefano leads the neural computation laboratory. Stefano is indeed an eminent and high-profile neurocomputationalist. Many of you might come across some of his papers, especially if you've been studying neurocomputation. And Stefano's quest, so to speak, is the following, right? The one we reported here. So his idea is to develop mathematical methods and improve neural networks to try and crack the population neural code. So this is really a long-sought question and still open question in computational neuroscience. The idea is to understand how sensory stimuli are encoded at the level of populations and how these encoded activity biases or govern behavioral choices, right? So this is one of the biggest now questions in neuroscience. Stefano has developed and he's been developing novel mathematical methods to address these questions, and recently he has produced a really important high-profile contribution, especially with respect to description of the emergent properties of this population coding, resulting in very important papers he published last year. So you might want to go back and see what he does by fishing out these papers. There's another interesting line of research that Stefano asked me to highlight here that is just starting in his lab, and it has to do with somewhat deconstructing the EEG signal into patterns of neural activity, so discrete patterns of neural activities, and this entails like a multidisciplinary approach that goes from an analytical study of the relationship between EEG and microcircuitry parameters, plus there's of course fitting and modeling of this new framework to experimental data, which is most of the work that Stefano does, via collaborations. This is something that I like especially. There is also like a validation by using perturbation of these models, and the final goal is to back translate or to invert EEG signals, especially in patient populations. For example, there's this Rett syndrome patients into neural events. Okay, that's once again very ambitious, and I think it epitomizes what Stefano has been doing. So another lab, and this is something that I'm glad I can go public with this. Another lab that we have in the center is the lab from Mike Lombardo, who is a new PI in the center. He's going to come here, I think, in June. And Mike Lombardo, well, his research question is basically, you know, how and why people with autism differ so much in the manifestations of their symptoms, right? You know, autism is a spectrum, and his research is, you know, devoted to understand how to deconstruct this spectrum into homogeneous, like clinically or biologically homogeneous subset of patients. And to do that, his lab is called, you know, Laboratory for Autism and Neurodevelopmental Disorders. And to do this, Mike uses multidisciplinary approaches ranging from neuropsychology to genomics, imaging, plus he makes big use of these, you know, very prominent big data approaches, where big data, where I mean also like broad data sets, so large, as well as deep, so deep phenotyping. And if you want to know a little more about what he did, Mike asked me to flag this paper here, we published, you know, a couple of months back in Nature Neuroscience. I think this is really a nice example of what he can do. So basically in this paper here, the goal was basically to understand what's the underlying difference between a subset of autism that can be differentiated in terms of verbal ability. As you probably know, let's say a chunk of papers with autism have like minimal verbal activities. Other patients are verbally fluent, okay, effective. So in this paper, basically, they were able, by using longitudinal phenotyping, to identify, to provide an early identification of this outcome as early as 12 months of age, and they also associated some, genetic and imaging signatures to these two different outcomes. So very important paper, very high-profile publications. If you want to know more, what is going to be implementing here, go back, fish out the paper, or you can get in touch with them. Okay. Then there's another lab, which is my own lab. My own lab is called Functional Neuroimaging Laboratory. And our quest is, if you like, somewhat related to what Mike has been doing. So our idea is that we would like to understand what are the neural bases of functional connectivity disruption that we see in many brain disorders, with a special focus on autism. Now, I'm sure that many of you have read and seen that functional connectivity, that is an index of interregional communication, is disrupted in brain disorders, but people do not know what that means, right? You can read the paper, you say, what are the neural elements that are, dysfunctioning and that lead to this hyperconnectivity or hypoconnectivity in patients. So in order to address this question, we took an unusual path, if you like. We wanted to start from model organisms, like the mouse. And in the mouse, we developed and implemented a set of methods that can describe these functional connectivity networks. So whole brain patterns of brain activity. So long story short, we now can do fMRI in the mouse. We can, describe these networks. We develop methods that many other labs are using. Actually, this has been very successful, and they're competing very fiercely with our own methods, which is okay. Now, so what do we make of this data? Well, as mentioned, we want to tackle pretty much the same question that Mike has been tackling. So the idea is to try, first and foremost, to deconstruct the heterogeneity of autism into homogeneous, biologically speaking, genetically speaking groups. How can we do that? Well, here we can use, of course, a bottom-up approach. So in model organisms, you can select out etiological factors, like, for example, genes that confer risk to developing autism. You can select many of them, you can model them in mice, and you can map and see each of these mutations, what it does in terms of brain activity, brain connectivity. And this is a long story, and I'm going to cut it down. What we found, there are two important things I want to tell you to see where we're going. The first thing is that in some specific instances, when we have the same mutation in humans and in the mouse, we can recapitulate it, we have pretty much the same patterns of brain dysfunction, which is encouraging. This means that you can use the mouse to study what happens in humans. The second thing now, we've been scanning, like 20 different mutations, and these mutations can be grouped into subtypes of autism. So there are mutations that produce hyperconnectivity, mutations that produce hypoconnectivity, and mixed cases. So we are reconstructing basically the heterogeneity of autism using these single tiles or jigsaw puzzle bits that you can reconstruct. And now, but to conclude, of course, now we are trying to understand what is driving the neural drivers of this disconnectivity of functional impairments by using modern neuroscience techniques. We can use chemogenetics, optogenetics in rodents to perturbate these systems and understand what these connectivity alterations are causing. All right, so I'm almost through. Last but certainly not least, this is a new lab, a newly established lab. So once again, we go public for the first time today. And the investigator, by the way, is here. So if you want to have a word with him, you can then chat. Is Giuliano Urilli, which has just arrived from the States, from Harvard. He's been generously funded by the Armenese Harvard Foundation, and he's going to establish his lab at Manifattura. So here, the research question that Giuliano aims to tackle is a very ambitious one. His idea basically is to understand what are the basic principles that govern innate behavior as well as its underlying population activity. And the final goal is to come up with a unifying framework, basically, in which or whereby we can establish direct reciprocal links between innate behavior and patterns of brain activity. So the idea is to see whether these two spaces, if you like, multidimensional spaces, are isomorphic, they have the same shape. And once again, this is a long-standing, very ambitious, open question. Neuroscience, how is Giuliano planning to do that? He's going to use this, let's say, parallel lines of investigation. One is to use state-of-the-art computer vision methods to decompose innate behavior into a series of states, repeating states, that allowed a description of like behavior as like a sequence of states, right? So in simple dynamical terms. And at the same time, he's measuring neural activity at different levels. He has got an impressive array of methods. You can just look up his papers, from multiphoton calcium imaging, electrophysiology, and so on and so forth. And the idea is to create these two domains, these two spaces that can be like somewhat overlapped and perturbed using closed-loop optogenetics. So very complicated and very ambitious stuff. If you didn't understand what I say, please ask him. I'm sure he can rephrase it in more intelligible terms. And I think this is it as far as we are concerned. Of course, we are, as mentioned, we have close, tight partnership with CIMeC. We have multiple training opportunities so master students can have their master thesis with us. We have multiple PhD positions as part of the CIMeC school. And if you want to contact us, if you want to know where we are, what we do, please drop us an email. It is name.sarney@iit.it. Thank you for your attention.
You will see all my files now. So good morning, everyone. I will try to be short since we are slightly late. My name is Veronica Mazza. I'm the Vice Director of the school, of the Doctoral School in Cognitive and Brain Sciences. And I guess most of you are here for the master, right? So I will just try to give you a flavor of what you can do after the master. So, and this is the reason why I'm here is because, let's say, 20 to 30% of the master students coming from CIMeC will become part of every year they become part of our doctoral program. And every year we have around 7 to 10 students, and these are the areas that our students cover during their projects. And as you can see, it's a very multidisciplinary program. So we go from cognitive neurorehabilitation to animal cognition, computational neuroscience, and so on and so forth. And I think that our program is, if not unique, definitely rare in the Italian scenario for at least 4 reasons. One is that starting from the past year, we have become a 4-year program, which is quite a strange thing as compared to the Italian and European actually scenario, where the duration of the PhD is 3 years. But we decided that in order for a student to really understand deeply the issue and address the issue properly, 4 years is a good length. The second reason why I think our program is special is because all positions are covered with fellowship. So all our students are financially supported for the entire duration of the program. And this is again something that is not often the case in Italy. The third point, and I think you will probably have realized by now, is that it is an international environment. So not only our principal investigators come from many parts of the world, but also the students are not only Italian, but they are coming from different parts of the world. And of course, this is the reason why English is our official language. And I think the last point why I think this program is really different from the others is because it is meant to be truly research-based. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you consider all the So if you consider all the credits that you have to get for each year, you will see that most of them are green. And green means that you get credit just by doing your research properly. So most of the credits, for instance, are related to the presentation of your research to other people, the report of your research activity, the review of the literature in a critical way, and so on and so forth. And the rest of the credits, as you can see, we have a little bit of compulsory credits, which are the blue thing here. And they are, again, related to your research somehow, because some are related to ethics and good practice of research. And then we have some other credits that are related to the fact that we think it's important that our students participate in the life of our institution. And I will give you some examples in a minute. And then, of course, we have electives. And again, the idea here is to let the student decide what they need to know in order to achieve the goals of their specific project. So our students come from very different backgrounds. So some are mathematicians, some are, of course, psychologists, some are biologists, and so they have different needs. And that's the reason why we decide to give them the freedom to choose which kind of course they want to attend. So let me give you a couple of examples of what kind of activities our students are involved in. The first that I think is quite important is our colloquium series. So the colloquia are events that we have every month, once a month, where we invite the among the most excellent scientists in the world, and they come here and present their research for about 1 hour. But more than that, they are always extremely keen on talking to our students. They give advice, suggestion. They are happy to go out for a drink with them. So this is really a nice and successful initiative that we have done so far. And if you will be enrolled in the master next year or in a PhD program, you will probably be able to attend the last 2 or 3 talks for 2009. But that's not it. We have several other activities. For instance, we have our students actively participate in the workshops that we have. Workshops are very small conferences where we invite a selected number of very important researchers in the area of attention, in the area of concepts, in the area of evolution, and recently we have had another workshop about neurostimulation. And here again, our students, in part, they are very helpful in the organization of the events, and then they present to these researchers their activity by means of poster presentation. And then there are other things that are more, let's say, locally driven. One of which is the Friday CIMeC meetings, which we actually call brown bag meetings because they occur at noon. And typically people would bring their lunch. And these are events that are fully organized by our PhD students and are very, let's call them informal talks, 15 minutes long, where people, either PhD students or other members of CIMeC, they will present ideas, projects, questions, and so on and so forth. And then we have another event, which is again managed and organized by a committee made of PhD students. That is the PhD Day. Again, once a year, all the PhD students present to the faculty and to the other members of CIMeC their project, their activity, and at the end, they also get a prize for the best presentations. So I will finish with a couple of more information. We have several partners during in our program. I think the strongest one or the most historical ones are EET. You've just listened to the presentation of Alessandro Gozzi, so I will not get into any detail. But typically IIT, so the Istituto Italiano di Tecnologia, provides us with fellowships every year for dedicated projects. And then the other partner, which is quite important for us, is Fondazione Bruno Kessler, FBK, which is a very important research institute in the Trento area. And very finally, now, as I said, you're probably here, or most of you are here for the master, but I'm pretty sure that many or some of you would also like to know, well, if I'm going to do a PhD, what's next? And it turns out that our students are not only very good during the PhD, but they also are pretty good afterwards in finding jobs. And as you can imagine, most of them remain in the academia, and so most of them so far have got junior positions at very important, among the most important universities in Italy, like for instance Milano Bicocca, and of course the University of Trento. A little bit of bragging is always nice, but they also go to places like McGill in Canada or MIT in the US, Oxford, and so on and so forth. Some of them remain in the research business, but for the public sector. And here we have students who have got job at the CNR Pisa or EURAC Bolzano, which is another research institute in the South Tyrol. And some of them switch to the private sector. Some, again, to do research in very big companies, like, for instance, Google or Facebook. Some, they decided to switch to a different thing, and they are, for instance, freelance neuropsychiatrists, psychologists, or neuropsychologists. So, finally, before thanking you for bearing with me, these are the past and current supporters that we have had during our PhD, and in particular the European Research Council has been granting us many fellowships. So if you have any question, this is the website you should take a look at. And, but for today, besides asking me questions, you can pester our PhD administration, Lea Mercanti, who will be here over lunch too, so feel free to ask her question, not just me. And thank you very much.
Now we have finished with our presentation as presenting the course, but now it's time for our students, Andrea Bruera and Antonio Di Socio, to tell you about their experience. They are actually still students at our master. They are telling you about their experience, and after Antonio and Andrea, we are going to have a research and question time. So if you have questions, we can And there is also a PhD student over there. Yeah, if you want to come, please. Claudia Bonmassari is a PhD student, so you can have time for telling the people interested in your experience. So please, do you need the microphone?
I'm Antonio, and I'm a second-year student at the master, and I'm actually currently working on my thesis project. So I'm actually in the cognitive neuroscience track. So how I discovered CIMeC? Well, I first discovered CIMeC when I was at high school, and I participated to these neuroscientific Olympic Games, and then I just started looking for something that was similar to that thing. So I found that University of Trento was offering a bachelor in cognitive science, and I came here even for my bachelor, already for my bachelor. And then I found that the topics that I've studied were wonderful, so I didn't change my mind in the 3 years. So I decided to apply for the Master of CIMeC. And actually I found a completely different place compared to the bachelor, because I found for the very first time international students, people coming from other places, and people coming from other backgrounds that could have offered me different insights on what I was studying. But I think that what CIMeC offers you that no other institutions can in Italy is a huge amount of labs, as you have seen before, and you can use, as Claudia was saying, every kind of neuroimaging technique. So if you go to Mattarello, which is this small town near Rovereto, you will find this MRI scan, which is actually brand new. They changed it like a few months ago. And an MG scan, TMS, EEG. But if you're interested in animal cognition, you can go to Manifattura, which is here in Rovereto, and you can study animal cognition and how animal cognition relates to human cognition. But I think that most importantly, what CIMeC offers you is the fact that it is in Italy, but still you are in an international place in which other researchers coming from all over Europe come here and they explain their research projects, and you can see that actually the same scientific question, the same question, maybe your question, can be approached, faced in different ways. So you can see how other researchers from all over Europe are approaching these very problems. So I think that for me that's it, but if you have more informal questions, you can just ask me afterwards at the lunch, and maybe see you there.
Hello, everybody. I'm Andrea. And so I'm one of those students coming from humanities, and then I came from philosophy, and then I came here for doing my master's, which is in the LMI track, so language and multimodal interaction. And and for me, it was even kind of a bigger step, because I came here, so I decided to come here while I was working. And, you know, I mean, having a regular income and a safe job may make you wonder whether it's worth it to actually get back to studying and, you know, get back to student life and lose the income. And I mean, and it was definitely worth it. So the main thing I was looking for was moving from philosophy, which is a place where you study language in a very theoretical way, moving to something which was much more empirical and which could be, I mean, really cutting edge research into language. And and basically I came here, and I can say at this point I'm about to finish, which then I found it. And so now I'm doing my thesis work, and I moved to doing computational modeling of language, which I'm doing here at a local lab. I mean, the two best things of the masters, I think, are the first one is the, especially the LMI track, is the size of the classes and the composition of the people you have in class with you, because most people, I mean, there's a nice mixture of people ranging from philosophy, it could be linguistics, it could be computer science, it could be psychology. And the thing is, since classes are a lot about discussing and making presentations and making questions and giving answers, it's very good to have this mixture and to be forced to make your ideas clearer and, you know, and try to put them at the same level of everybody, because in that way you're, well, of course you're being supposedly useful to someone else, but also to yourself, because you're clearing out your ideas, and this helps a lot for the second year, for sure, because in the second year it's, I mean, the second year is much more practical. You're going to have a lot of practical work to do for internship and thesis, and so this is certainly a very good, I think it really goes very well with the first year, where you really clear ideas, you find your project, and then you put it into practice during the second year. So, well, I'll be around for questions, of course, and well, thank you very much.
So I have to say that all of them have kindly accepted to be here for free without receiving, well, any credits. So they have done to me an excellent job for advertising the master. We didn't train them. We didn't ask them to advertise in any way. We just asking them to report freely their experience. Thank you very much. So again, please. So now we have time for possible questions. Okay, so first of all, there is a nice video that we have realized about our master. So just take just a couple of minutes.
Hey Anna, I'm sorry that I didn't call you back, but today was another busy day. I woke up very early since getting on time to the university is such a challenge. I get always stuck in traffic. Classes here seem to be interesting, but sometimes they get too crowded and it's difficult to interact with teachers. Today, for example, I saw my professor for just a few minutes before he had to run away. By the way, how's it going in your new lab? Did you make any progress with your research idea? I'm looking forward to hearing about it. Okay then, I have to go now. I want to get an hour's workout before I go back to work. And after that, I'm sure I'll be so tired that I'll be ready to go to bed. I really miss you so much, Anna. Just get in touch soon and let me know when you're coming to visit me.
Why are you not coming to Rovereto instead?
Okay, so it's just to provide you an idea of the life for you could be in Rovereto if you apply and you are able to be admitted to our master or PhD if you are planned for the PhD. So obviously we have time. We have more time for questions over the lunch, as the student have already said, and all the people. But if you have a question right now, please feel free to ask. Yes, please.
Probably the third student already answered my question, but this is a question that many people, I think, have. So I've never studied psychology or neuroscience, and I'm currently studying foreign languages and literature. My fear is that optimism and just do it-ism and no pain, no gain, and so on, won't be enough. And so if you don't try, you don't know, but is it possible for me, or should I say maybe it's not the right path? Thank you.
So you're interested in a cognitive neuroscience track mainly, so you're saying that your background is not really fitting with the so what we say that is, obviously as a master is really interdisciplinary, so we have students coming from very, very different background. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, for you. I'm saying that if you decide to apply, in the meanwhile, from now till September, you can try to bridge the gap. So I'm not saying that you need to take a bachelor degree in psychology from now till September. I'm saying that maybe you can try to, how to bridge the gap. There are possibilities. We suggest our students, for instance, to start following these courses that are online, that you can find. Coursera, for instance, they are offered by different, they are for free. And you can try to follow those courses. You can try to get some handbooks, textbooks on the field, and try about the cognitive, for instance, foundation on cognitive neuroscience. The idea that we have is to propose basic courses, introductory courses, but still at the master level. So we cannot offer bachelor degree because they might be boring for the student that got a bachelor in that field, sort of redundant. Still, we are aware that not all our students are coming from the psychological background or from neuroscientific background. So we try to help you if you are coming from a different background. But what we ask you, if you are thinking to apply, you can apply, but try to bridge the gap. I don't know if it's clear. Okay.
So I'm a student at the second year of cognitive science here, and I have a question. And the question is that I am investigating like the possible opportunities for the future. And my question is a bit technical, maybe. This pathway in Italy is counted as an LM55, if I'm not wrong, which is research. And here in psychology, with the path neuroscience, it's very similar, a bit less practical, but it's LM51. So the difference is that with the Italian law, okay, if you have an LM51, you can also do research and be like a neuropsychologist or whatever. So from a pragmatic point of view, it will be a better choice for me because I will keep more careers open. But so I want to know, is there any ways in which you can compensate this this option?
So for sure, it's true that it's for the Italian students. I think many of you are Italians. If you apply to the master, you cannot then you cannot take the exam for becoming a psychologist. You cannot apply for the albo of psychologists. So because we are not in that field. So what is for you the best solution? Well, it's really depend on your goal. As you say, so the other option that you have here at the University of Trento is in Italian. First of all, is less with less practical experience. If you want to, it's not organized as our master, obviously. So if you think that research is going to be your path, your goal, yes, then you can. Then Rafaela then can add something if later. But I'm saying that if it's, from my point of view, if you have this goal, it might be better. Other solution, I don't know. I think if you want to take the other opportunity, you need to get a master also in psychology. And if you start in a master in cognitive science, then you can get also a master in psychology just by taking some more credits. So it doesn't mean that you need to retake all the other master. You know what I'm... Okay. Then, so Raffaele, you were saying? Okay, okay. Some other questions? Yes.
So I have two questions. One is relating, both are related to the application process, actually. If I'm not mistaken, I read somewhere that we're supposed to have some knowledge of maths and statistics. I mean, it wasn't a required credit, but it was strongly suggested for us to have that. So I was wondering whether you could explain maybe what area of math and statistics we should be knowledgeable on. If you want to answer that already. But the other question was related to the two tracks. I was wondering whether there's any quotas, maybe, like whether you want a specific number or maybe an even number of students between the two tracks, or whether that's just dependent on who gets in.
Well, we about the number of students, we have two tracks, and it doesn't matter if we have 50 and 50, 80 and 20, or, well, ideally 50 and 50 is the best maybe option for us, in a sense that we can have half of the student in one track, half on the other. It's well balanced. At the same time, we don't want to force. We don't stop the application of the cognitive neuroscience if we think that we can have good students and we are going to reach 80% of. Actually, till now, we have had more students applying to the cognitive neuroscience track than LMI, and more students enroll in the cognitive neuroscience than LMI. So it's not really a huge problem for us. About the other question, what we are asking is basic knowledge, so not really in deep knowledge in maths or statistics. So, other questions? Yes.
And if I will apply for the PhD, is it possible to do like the trainship to become a psychology in the meanwhile, or is it impossible to?
I think I have a...
Yes. Try to answer that. Hi. So you would like to... so I know that some PhD students... I'm coming here because of the live streaming in case people need to see. So your question is if you can become a psychologist while being a PhD student. I think that has been done before, but the psychologists who come to the PhD have already acquired a certain amount of credits that they have to for the albo. In some cases, the internship has been done while being a PhD student. So that has to go through an internal body before it gets approved. So you would have to discuss it with your advisor, and then you propose this as a possibility to the executive committee of the PhD program. But there is a precedence of that already, so it should be a positive, affirmative answer that you can do that. You cannot do the scuola di specializzazione at the same time of PhD because that would be incompatible. You can't belong to two schools at the same time according to an Italian ministry regulation. Any other PhD questions? Okay.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the beautiful seminar today. I think it was really helpful. I'm actually doing my master's at the University of Bergamo in clinical psychology, and I only wanted to know, I'm really interested in the PhD. However, I wanted to know, should I be actively seeking supervisors? Because I'm not really completely aware of the process because I'm a little hesitant. So I just wanted to know about that. Yeah.
It's a common question for PhD applicants. The question is if the person who's interested in applying for the PhD program should actively be seeking out principal investigators in our PhD program, I'm assuming. Yes. So that would be a perfect way to go about it. It's not always that simple, but in an ideal world, you will have looked at our website, reviewed our PhD faculty members, and see which of those faculty members are proposing a topic for this year. It could be similar. It doesn't have to be the exact same topic that you're interested in, but to understand if your line of thought and your line of research could match well here, that would be the perfect thing to do, I think, because actually...
My short answer would be yes, definitely. Try and find somebody before you apply for the program, because it makes it easier for everybody, you and us. So, I mean, it's not the necessary thing, Leah is right, but it's definitely something we would really love from you.
Thank you, Veronica.
Okay, so
yeah. I would like to know how does it work, the selection for the CISA program, because there are a few people that can go through. So
yeah. So is a further selection step the CISA program. So first of all, you should make it clear that you are going to apply for the CISA selection program as well. So not just for the master, but also for the CISA selection program. So first of all, you should be admitted to the master degree. Obviously, otherwise you cannot. This is obvious. But the second thing is that there is also a precise statement of purpose that you should fill, you should write up, and it should be for that track. So in the past we have had people using exactly the same statement of purposes. It doesn't work like that. You should prepare it for why you are choosing CISA program, why you are interested in the joint program, why for you it's important. Okay. Yeah, if you have other questions, I'll be around, the students will be around, the other people that have presented today, my colleagues, are going to be around, so feel free to contact me in general for the cognitive neuroscience track, Raffaella for the LMI, Sabrina for the Harvard Summer School. And we have also our colleagues for the administrative support, Giulia, they are over here, Giulia, Chiara, and Michele, that can address all the formal questions, most of the formal questions that you might have about the application. Okay? So, thank you. Sorry? C'era quel ragazzo lì che...